So this will be quite tough because this stage have a mixture of everything. We have fast, very, very fast parts. We have the vineyards also, and it's very tricky with hairpins.
Day one dawned with the threat of rain in the air, but for the time being it remained dry. Championship leader Hänninen was first into action. Finns historically take a while to learn their trade on tarmac, but Juho has rapidly proved his worth on sealed surfaces. Hänninen set a really impressive pace through the first stage. The only man who could match Hänninen early on was Martin Prokop. The Czech has plenty of experience on tarmac and beat Juho by 0.6 of a second on the opening test. On stage 2, though, Martin got a brutal reminder just how easily these German roads can catch you out. Martin and co-driver Jan Tomanek off into the vines and out of the running. They were unharmed, but it was a massive dent to their championship aspirations.
I got a little bit too much right hairpin and I hit some wall or something and I completely lost the wheel. So car was impossible to control and we stopped somewhere here in vineyards.
Bernardo Sosa proved he too has asphalt pace, up to second following Prokop's exit. Unfortunately though, stage 2 would be Bernardo's last for the day. An accident heavily damaged the right side of the car. A frustrating setback for his own fading championship hopes. Estonian sensation Ott Tänak was the first to admit he is still very much a work in progress on asphalt, but by opting for soft tyres in the wet stage 2, he set the 6th best time of the entire field, 13 seconds quicker than anyone else in the SWRC. He replaced Sosa in second. Up to third, meanwhile, was local crew Herman Gassner Jr. and Kathy Wustenhagen. Using their home knowledge to good effect, the Skoda S2000 was flying through the vineyards. Herman having his best run of the season so far on home soil. It had already been a bruising morning, but so far so good for Hänninen. Juho held a lead of over half a minute from Tänak after the opening loop. Further back, there had been an intriguing battle developing for fourth between local guest entry Felix Herbold and Nasser Al-Attiyah. The Qatari just about having the upper hand as the first day drew to a close. Up front, Hänninen was still leading the way. As the afternoon progressed, though, he was coming under increasing pressure from Tänak. And finally, the pressure would tell. Juho incredibly fortunate to survive this high-speed spin in stage 4. But worse was to come. That impact on the final stage of the day would seriously damage a wheel. The Finn managed to limp to the finish line, but with rules stipulating all 4 wheels must be attached to the car on road sections, Hänninen was out for the day.
Were you just caught out?
It's quite tricky with those gravel corners without marking on the base nose where you have a gravel. Okay, I was a bit too fast over there and hit the concrete and lost the wheel, but stupid, of course. Always when you lose the wheel, it's a stupid mistake.
Hänninen's exit would elevate his Skoda teammate Gassner Jr. up to a fine 2nd place on his home event. Herman made it through the corner that caught out Hänninen, only to make exactly the same mistake a corner later with exactly the same result. 2 of the top 3 were out on the same stage and Gassner Jr. was devastated.
It was a left corner which tightens a bit and there was so many dust I had no chance to do anything. Yeah, and that's happened. We hit the wall and no wheel.
With the 2 Skoda drivers receiving a 10-minute penalty for missing the final stage, they plummeted down the leaderboard, leaving Tänak way out front by more than a minute and a half. Carl Kruder was now his closest rival.
It's good when 2 Estonian guys are leading. But yeah, we just need to make sure that the car is working and we as well, so let's see tomorrow. Long day.
Day 2 dawned to clear blue skies. Here's Kathy Wustenhagen again with a look at what lay ahead.
We start on Saturday with the so-called Saarland stages. The Saarland stages are very, very fast and very tricky also because the streets are quite narrow. And then we have the famous stages overall. This is Panzerplatte. I think everybody knows the very famous Hinkelsteiner. I know there are some drivers having not so good experiences of this Hinkelsteiner. I hope we not.
Now in a fine second place, Kruder set about chasing his fellow Estonian Tänak. Unfortunately, Kruder's efforts hit a setback on the second stage of the morning. A puncture saw him lose a minute and slip back to third. He was later forced to pull out for good after going off the road and damaging a wheel. Kruder wasn't the only one in trouble on the challenging Day 2 stages. Felix Herbold was having a fine run on his SWRC debut, but a mistake on stage 7 ended his pursuit of Alatea. Prokop won every stage on Day 2, proving what could have been. The Czech star was still down in 7th place due to his time penalties for missing most of the opening leg. Bernardo Souza was staging a recovery operation after stopping on Day 1. The Fiesta driver looking wild on occasion, but had managed to fight his way back up to 6th. And despite suffering a myriad of technical problems over the course of Day 2, Nasser Alatea was having one of his best ever runs on tarmac. The 2011 Dakar winner was in a comfortable 2nd place going into the final overnight break. But out front and now with an enormous lead following the problems for almost everyone behind, Tänak was in cruise control and enjoying the opportunity to develop his tarmac skills. This rally was now the Estonians to lose. With the 5 stages of Day 3 remaining, Tänak's lead was well over 4 minutes, while Alatea also looked safe in 2nd place, and so to the final 76 kilometres of action.
Sunday, we have done the last 5 stages. These are Drontal and Moselwein, and then the last stage is Circus Maximus in the middle of Trier. And let's see what's going on there, if we can have a lot of fun and watching the crowds of people, or if we have still to fight because we are just a few seconds in front or behind.
With some rain around on the final morning, there were still plenty of treacherous German roads to negotiate. Martin Prokop was in trouble on the first stage of the day. A wild moment caused damage to his front right corner, and he was fortunate not to lose position. Gasly Jr. made a similar error to Prokop. It had become a frustrating weekend for the local star on an event that had started so promisingly. Carl Kruder's rally had been similar to his season as a whole, quick at times, but bad luck had again held him up. The final day would be no different. Differential failure and a spin would cause delays, but the Estonian was relieved to hold on to 5th place. Championship leader Hänninen, meanwhile, was quickest on 3 of the day's 5 stages, the Finn again proving his tarmac pace in tricky conditions. 4th position would be a reasonable consolation, considering his problematic weekend. 3G Turan, meanwhile, had managed to stay out of trouble on the final 2 days. His reward, a 2nd podium finish of the season. Alatea had started the day over 4 minutes behind leader Tänak and 2.5 minutes clear of Turan, so holding station was a straightforward enough assignment. After a difficult start to the year, Nasser would be delighted to finish 2nd.
Fantastic weekend, you know, and we finished 2nd in S2000. I'm really so happy about this. It was a very difficult rally for us. We get some few trouble, but okay, we are here and I think we get good experience.
The runaway winner, though, was Ott Tänak. Despite his huge lead, the 23-year-old still managed a stage win on the final day. Ott and co-driver Carl de Sick charged through the streets of Trier in the Circus Maximus power stage to finish the event. Win number 2 of the season for Ott, and his first ever on tarmac was in the bag.
Yeah, it's been really good weekend. No mistakes from our side and no mistakes on the car, so it was really nice. Our first event with Super 2000 and on tarmac, so for sure it's good to win.
In the end, Tänak's winning margin was an enormous 5.5 minutes over Alatea. Turan was an even more distant 3rd, with Hänninen recovering to 4th. The win could prove crucial to Tanak's championship aspirations. The Estonian is now just 18 points behind Hänninen, and it's looking increasingly like a two-horse race, with Prokop a further 16 points back. With the SWRC's final 2 rounds also on the black stuff in France and Spain, it should be a thrilling fight to the finish. Still to come, we bring you all the action from the WRC Academy's first tarmac event in Germany. And we have a word with Brendan Reeves, the young Aussie Academy pilot, hoping he's started the long journey towards the WRC.
The experience of the Academy has been amazing so far this year. It's a real challenge for everyone.
Welcome back to WRC Rally World. With Australia's most successful driver, Chris Atkinson, still searching for a way back into the sport's top level, there are at least 2 Aussies competing on the stages of the WRC Academy. The Academy has given us some of the closest rallying across each of the World Championships. So far, it has been a huge success. You have to look no further than round 3 in Finland, where we saw the best battle not just of the series so far, but of the whole event. As the Academy entered the final day, there was nothing to choose between championship leader Egon Kaur and contender Craig Breen. His advantage just 2.4 seconds over Kaur. What happened during the remainder of that day will go down in rallying folklore as one of the best battles in the Finnish forests. Over the course of 7 stages, the lead changed hands a total of 6 times.
Up until literally the last split of the final stage, we were neck and neck after, you know, nearly 300 kilometers of driving. It was completely neck and neck.
The whole last day we were switching places with Craig, and we were both pushing, and then that final stage was just a cherry on the top.
Somewhere in the last split, Egon found 2 seconds. I have no idea where. My onboard is sitting in a little plastic case and I haven't opened it yet because I just don't want to look and say, that's where I've lost it. But, you know, disappointing, but we need to move on. It's still, you know, only the halfway point. We still have 3 rallies to go. He could get the look that we've had in the first 3 rallies, you know, so we need to look on the positives and push on.
But once again, it was Egon who prevailed to make it 3 out of 3 and maintain his 100% win record. So this is how things stand coming into the 4th round of the championship in Germany. Kaur dominating the standings so far, an incredible 52 points ahead of Breen, and Reeves tied in 2nd on 36 points. And on to Germany, the first tarmac event of the year. Some were more confident than others.
There is a handful, more than a handful of tarmac experts here. Granola, Ian Chorney, Suarez, Lemet, you know, there's such a variety of good tarmac drivers, and obviously Alistair's grown up on the same roads that I've grown up on, so this is going to be the toughest one, I really think.
Jere Lemesh was not to be discounted either. He proved his pace on tarmac in last year's JWRC, but what of championship leader Egon Kaur?
It would be nice to leave Germany maintaining the 100% win record.
I'm sure it would be good, but I think we should be a little bit more realistic here and just not to get over our heads and do what we need to do.
Straight into the action, and for 2nd place in the championships, Brendan Reeves. The action came early on. Sliding off the road on the opening stage of the rally cost him nearly 6 minutes, and he dropped to the bottom of the standings. The sun wasn't shining on either of the Australian entrants. Molly Taylor also had her share of problems in the opening stage. She'd slid wide and hit a pole, the result a damaged right rear wheel. Her problems continued when she stalled at this tight right hairpin. But it would all prove academic anyway when she retired just 4 stages later with drive shaft failure.
Long 5 left, don't cut.
Up at the business end, though, it was inevitably the tarmac specialists who were fighting for the lead. Jere Lemesh was the man who took the early advantage. Having driven the German stages in the JWRC last year, he was perfectly prepared for this tarmac test, and he put his preparation into good use, taking a total of 5 stage wins over the first day. But after the heartbreak of Finland, Pirelli star driver Craig Breen was not about to let Lemesh run away with it. Despite taking just one stage win,